But you know, beguiling here, the translocations is potentially the type of spells that we could foresee ourselves using in the future. Again, very much filling that niche of utility spells, while still allowing our ranged attacks to be the shining star of the matter. So if we wanted to bring this into the fold, it could potentially just be a temporary thing, like put it onto our Ring of Evasion maybe, ready to break the chains at any half decent opportunity. I just say so because the majority of our other equipment we either plan on switching out of or is slightly too good for a curse combo that I'm not 100% convinced of. So let's do this just to give ourselves next pip of piety here that does allow us to get clarity of mind, so don't have to worry about confusion anytime soon, which is lovely to say the least. Elements and introspection on you. Is introspection worth it on that alone? Potentially not at the moment. I think we'll let that one simmer on the back burner here for the time being. I don't know if I want to say hello to whatever that enemy is what I was going for there. Fortunately, the game had some other plans in mind, but let's just steer clear, head the other direction. Please and thank you. And holy, not too shabby as we just burned through the starting section of this run without too many issues whatsoever. Love to see it. And I think it's about time we do a little bit of spring cleaning here. We'll just remove degeneration and all of the consumables that are of no use to us thanks to our stasis. And I think we're just ready to hop into lair. I'm trying to think to myself if there's anything else we want to account for here immediately. I think we're actually doing okay. We're ready to jump into it. One thing we could, I guess, check. What does the triple crossbow look like? 1.5 attack delay. Oof. And our damage rating goes up by about 50%. 1.5 times as good. So, I mean, technically, the math kind of plays out in favor of the triple crossbow there. You know, if we round this down to 1.0, then 1.5 times attack delay, 1.5 times damage rating kind of works out. It's still slightly terrifying to delay our attack by that much, because that's something that I feel can very quickly get away from you. Specifically, it doesn't have that noticeable of an effect unless you're paying attention. And so you can very quickly find yourself taking like 3 attacks in a single turn from an encroaching enemy that's hasted. Start wondering where everything went wrong. Looking for who I can blame other than myself. And a bunch of death yaks is definitely not who I was hoping to run into. The gore attack is slightly higher damage than I'd like. 77 max HP. That is rough, buddy old pal. Could dig ourselves into a full corner somewhere. I'm tempted to fight them here, but if the AI just happens to accidentally send them around here in their wandering, then I will very quickly come to regret that. So we could back ourselves into a corner, keeping in mind that we can always, at the very least, furiously dig our way out if things go horribly wrong. This could also be a case of preemptive care. Specifically, I'm looking at these summoning scrolls, and while I generally like to save those for the starting section of the game, this could be a half-decent time to bring out, you know, to phone some friends, as it were. So let's do so. And then we can engage in glorious combat, and by our powers combined, I mean, it's definitely a decent start. And now Arcane Toad friend is getting in additional attacks as we wander away, so that is lovely. And in fact, that might give us just enough for us to do something like that. Oh, I'm still using the triple crossbow. After all my talks of the subtle dangers of doing so, I did not actually listen to my own advice. You know, I thought my sprite was looking a little fancy. Oh, I totally know what I'm doing. Definitely not my first rodeo. Couldn't possibly be a mistake, really. Oh me, oh my. But let's move over just to gain access to our electrical eel friend there. Beautiful. And beguiling again. Hey, my friend. I mean, it's not horrible. Again, it kind of brings to mind the question that I had when we originally came across the Ash Altar, which is, where are we going with this? What are we actually doing? I mean, translocations, a lot of the spells will actually be locked away from us due to our stasis, but there are a couple exceptions to that. I'm pretty sure like Pass Wall and Passage to Globria is all we really have access to there. Of course, teleporting enemies is always an option. Things like Disjunction could probably be a lifesaver. I kind of named the ant and living up to it. They definitely are so far. They're definitely living up to the name that was, yeah, very intentional. Definitely to give them that essence of importance and value. Not at all because I had zero creative juices flowing when I first started the run here today. Couldn't possibly be related. Just a correlation, not a causation, of course. So, maybe the buckler could temporarily try out this curse with. Specifically, I'm thinking of the buckler because that's something that we're likely to hold on to for a decent chunk of the run, but definitely look to be switching, especially by the time we get to kind of Vault's depths. By that stage, we should have almost definitely come across like a branded kite shield or something along those lines. So let's do it. Let's not be too afraid to just be cursing everything left and right. Give some respect to Ashenzari and get as many of our godly abilities unlocked as we possibly can here. And, you know, we should potentially train a bit of dodging to take advantage of just how many of our bonuses have been in that capacity. And maybe just that for now. We'll see. It shouldn't take too long at all, even with the -1 aptitude, to get the first few points sorted out on that side of things. So that is fantastic. And yeah, speak of the devil, look at that. We even went over immediately just because of how much experience we're gaining here. So let's bring you up to a solid 9. And what I actually should do is first operate properly and engage that. Perfect. Then double check. Attack delay is still 1.5, and actually, right, ranged weapons needs to go way up now if we actually plan on using this triple crossbow. So let's reset the skill cap there, and that, unfortunately, unlike the dodging range that we set, or max that we set, will take a long time to get sorted, if I had to guess. You know, let's take you upstairs, my friend. You can follow. Beautiful. Again, as long as we don't find ourselves in too hot of a water situation, we should be flying high here. And those sky sharks I'm definitely concerned about, to say the least, just because that is an enemy that can speed up. And if they'd managed to do so, we very quickly would have found ourselves struggling with the current attack speed on the triple crossbow. Otherwise, I think just the sheer amount of damage output we have, a vision of companions and elements that definitely doesn't really fit in our current run style here, so we'll probably just let that one change over naturally, as dodging does hit the cap already here, so now it's just going to be ranged weapons. But again, that is not really a problem as far as I see it here. Let's let that focus for a little bit, get as close as we can to attacking at a semi-reasonable speed with the triple crossbow. Also, keeping an eye out for any brand weapon scrolls would be really nice to come across. If we could just compound the current weapon on, or the current damage on this weapon, then that would far and away make up for any delayed attack speed. I think we'd very quickly find ourselves in a pretty happy spot. Melee combat and sorcery. What is sorcery compared to the others? Conjurations and alchemy. Fair enough. Does make a certain amount of sense. Again, not really our cup of tea at this moment in time, so we will just have to leave that by the wayside as we continue to just churn our way through Lair here. Holy moly. So far gotten fairly lucky in all the encounters. I feel like this is the first time in a long time that the first Hydra we came across only had 4 heads instead of deciding that we were immediately deserved of fighting an 8-headed Hydra, so that was lovely. More cunning. Ash, are you trying to say something about us here? Maybe a complimentary statement about just how cunning we are is how I will choose to take it, even though more likely the case is that we have 0 cunning innately, so Ash is trying to give us a slight leg up in that regard. But again, it's all the perspective that you decide to look at it from. Let's not attribute to malice what could instead be attributed to a fantastic, healthy relationship with good old Ash. And not too shabby. Companions and elements also doesn't quite hit the mark for us here. So get some boots, though. That means that we could potentially swap out. So we lose the devices and cunning that we currently have here. Let's maybe wait. Oh, wait, no, when I break the chains, it resets our curse too, doesn't it? I mean, we probably should do that sooner rather than later. Bit of negative energy resistance doesn't really hurt to have. So in the essence of getting that set up, let us break the chains. Yes, you can withdraw your current vision. I respect your choices, Ash. You know better than I what the future holds. So I will simply trust in your wisdom and acuity there. Beautiful. Ooh. Very quickly getting quite the welcoming party here. Hello, my friends. Please line up in an orderly queue and approach one at a time if you could be so kind. Fantastic. Well, okie dokie. Ozukubu's armor. See, now that's a utility spell that I could potentially get behind. Would unfortunately require some training since I've been snubbing any and all references to elemental skills in our visions so far. But it's an interesting choice, at least, for giving us, or shoring up some of the generally lacking defenses on the ranged character side. Specifically that armor class, oftentimes being in a rough spot. But fortitude, armor, and shields, now that's something. Is it worth it when paired with conjurations and alchemy? Probably not. I don't really see us taking that approach at any point. So I think here's where we're gonna get just a little more discerning with our curses. We're in a pretty comfortable spot. We don't really need to jump ahead in the piety here. I mean, protection from the malevolent forces is nice, don't get me wrong. Not having to worry about shafts and marks is just a peace of mind that you can't really put a price tag on. But let's not worry too much about it for now. You know what, I think we are comfortable enough to at least check out Layer 5 and see how things are looking. Oh my gosh, not very often I see the burning bushes. Well, hello there. And let's see what the area has in store. More death yaks, eh? I mean, definitely not who we wish to see at this moment. Oh my gosh, especially since there are just so many of you. Hello, my friends. Again, didn't realize we were running a convention here. Just thought it was a regular day trip to Lair. Fair enough. And ooh, being put to sleep is probably an untenable situation. So we'll potentially hide away just slightly here. We'll wait for these sons of guns to slowly but surely wander their way in. Hello there. And oof, definitely starting to feel the pain here slightly. Don't have any more butterfly scrolls, which would be a nice go-to method of dealing with our problems here, so we might have to use one of those summonings. Again, probably just shouldn't have let it get this far. There's no real reason for me to take on the entire horde of death yaks immediately here. Yikes. I guess the other option is a throwing net. We could see how that goes. Also, should double check my phone. Seeing as I just got an alert. No, we're all good. Just an email that I don't need to read. Fantastic. I was concerned because Doggo started barking outside, and I was worried my partner was dealing with something there that I would want to go and assist with, but fortunately not the case. So let's head over to Orc. And we should have a fairly straightforward time. Though, of course, no promises, especially since we're dealing with some enemies that we're still not very familiar with. I'm talking about those blast miners, of course. But, at the very least, on the flip side, we have a nice entrance on the other side here. And so that does give us some freedom to get creative. Now I've trapped myself. So that's probably not great. What can we do to take care of you, my friend? You're not mited up at least, so some small bonus for us to have a certain amount of appreciation for. Unfortunately, still doing a bit more damage than I'd like, so maybe we will phone in some friends. And again, just cement in our ability to deal with that son of a gun without needing to worry too much about it. And before we head back down, let's actually double check. Okay, that looks to be the worst that Orc 1 will bring to bear at the moment. There we go. That is much better. Heavy arbalist? I don't think so. Definitely fooled around with heavy crossbows in the past, and it is a wild amount of fun to be able to put out that much damage. But I'm looking for something slightly more consistent and safe here, if we can at all help it, so that can just be left by the wayside. And again, keeping an eye out for brand weapon scrolls. I guess one thing I should probably do is just enchant this triple crossbow. This will probably be our bread and butter until the end of the run, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. Ash, I'd really appreciate it if it wasn't all sorcery upgrades. Please and thank you. I mean, again, you're the boss here, and far be it for me to try to impart any of my own will. Jeez Louise, stone giants, cyclops. It is an adventure here. So we're going to use up all of our summoning scrolls a little bit earlier than I would otherwise like. But small price to pay for our continued survival, and hopefully that stone giant was kind of the ringleader, as it were. We won't have to worry too much about the rest of the floor here. Of course, even just wishing for such an occasion is likely to be cursing us. But a boy can dream, can he not? So let's say hello to the rest of our giant friends.